So my name is Erez. I'm not Megan. Megan is my supervisor. We just had a little swap. We thought maybe it'd be a little more fun if I had the opportunity to share some things with you. Um, so my name is Erez. I'm a conservation technician with the Washtenaw Conservation District. Before I start, I want to mention how cool it is that some of the things Jim talked about, and it's, in this whole conservation world, it's pretty unique how much our work overlaps, but we all have our the thing we specialize in, but we know um, who to call for what, and we know um, how to work together. So I know he mentioned the USDA and NRCS, and that's what I do quite a bit. So that's a good thing, and I appreciate that we can all work together on things. So the Washtenaw County Conservation District is very fortunate to have a technician, Nick Mashinsky, who administers the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program here, which I'll talk about. And we also have myself, who administers the Farm Bill program. Luckily, I have been a meat technician for 5 years prior to this, and Nick knows about what I do. So we're fortunate to have a cross training. So we are able to work together, kind of see, we each have different strengths, so we can work with landowners on different things. And then from a more general perspective, the Conservation District, our mission is to assist residents with conservation, management, and wise use of natural resources in Washtenaw County. I've been at it since 1948. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with our tree sale. We do a lot of education and technical assistance, which is kind of what I'll be talking about. So this land management division of ours, between myself and Nick, is made up of the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program and the Farm Bill program. So essentially what my job is to link the Conservation District and landowners to the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So we have a USDA office on Jackson Road. So I'm kind of I do those programs, but I'm able to do it through a grant covered by the Conservation District. So I kind of am a link between landowners and Farm Bill programs. So what is the Farm Bill? The most recent Farm Bill was in 2018. We're close on a new one. It offers both financial and technical assistance. So that comes in the form of conservation practices and activities and enhancements. So there's the forestry program and the conservation easement program, which we deal with quite a bit, but the things that I myself can help you out with the most is the EQIP, the Environmental Qualitative Incentive Program, and CSP, which is really my bread and butter, the Conservation Stewardship Program. So I'll talk about the difference between those two. Yeah, so those are the areas that I focus on most. So the EQIP, we call EQIP. It's the point of this program is really to help out with natural resource concerns and help improve the environment. And that comes in the form of, think of kind of capital infrastructure, like a one-time fix on your farm. So if you have maybe like a leaky fuel tank, or if you have fuel going into the ground from an old underground tank, that's obviously a concern. So EQIP will work with you on putting in a new fueling system with concrete. Another one that you see around here a lot is fencing for livestock. So if we have a challenge with keeping livestock out of water, to protect that waterway, we'll put in we'll work with landowners on cost sharing plans to put in fencing so that they have limited access to creeks, and we'll put in watering systems so they get all the water they need. We do things like wildlife habitat, like Jim mentioned, and all sorts of conservation planning for agriculture operations. Some benefits, you will see reduction of contamination from agricultural sources. So that can be runoff from fertilizer, animal feeding operations. So we're working with agriculture producers on better, efficient ways to utilize their nutrients. So we're not changing their whole operation or their systems. We're just helping find ways to be more efficient and hold on to the nutrients they have, as opposed to letting them go into the ground, surface water, etc. So also increasing soil health to mitigate against increasing weather volatility. So again, that's something that is pretty common. We will provide producers with tools to make sure that they know how to hang on to those nutrients and really be efficient with what they have. So this is just some pictures of some things. Stream crossings are a popular one, and that's important because we care about that stream bank health, and a lot of times with cattle you'll see a lot of erosion along stream banks, and we really want to protect that stream bank. So I talked about fuel. This is a nice picture of some fuel that we've cost shared and designed. Down here, that, like I mentioned, some fencing. So again, keeping that stream bank nice and vegetated. And then composting facilities for small, medium, large farms. We will work with you on that, because this is all about ground and surface water protection. So concrete can be a very helpful resource if you're certain that you want to have something there for a long time. And then the last thing I'll mention, which is probably our most popular EQIP program, is high tunnels. So the point of this is a seasonal high tunnel. We're trying to extend the growing season and protecting natural resources, protecting plant health, so that plants can continue to grow later in the season. You can get more of a harvest, and you can get off to an earlier start. So a lot of growers who have high tunnels are already doing pretty good with their harvest. So another program I want to talk about that I mentioned is something that is I deal with the most, is Conservation Stewardship Program. So the CSP. So as opposed to the EQIP, where we're talking about kind of more one-time fixes, this is more of a practice-based program. So it helps agriculture producers maintain and improve existing conservation systems and adopt additional conservation activities to address resource concerns. So for example, with EQIP, if you already got cover crop funding, and we worked with you on cover crops, if you got 2 cover crops that we helped you with in terms of cost share and planning, we'll say, okay, there's still a little bit of erosion happening on the farm. We'll add in a 3rd or a 4th. Same thing with the grazing. You already have all the infrastructure, we'll make a grazing plan for you. So if you've already done EQIP, this is a great program. So you'll earn a minimum $1,500 payment for participating in the program if you already have some conservation practices that we like, or we'll come up with one, and then you'll still get that payment. And that's kind of a base payment per practice. So higher the performance, the higher the payment, and the slogan on this program is taking conservation to the next level. So you're already doing the right thing. We like that, and we just kind of want to reward you for that. So I talked a little bit about that. If you've gone through EQIP, it's great. We'll talk about MEAP in a minute. So yeah, we're really, again, we're trying to, the whole point of this is to maintain and kind of close the cycle, use the nutrients we have on the farm or in a specific system, and not let them volatilize or run off, because those are valuable. We need those, we just need them in the right spots. So just more pictures. Jim talked a lot about pollinator habitat. That's something that CSP will we offer. That's a pretty popular one. So if you have a field or just an open space and you're a producer of any sort or a landowner, we can work with you on getting a large plot of pollinator habitat planted. Grazing plans is something really popular. That's very important. Filter strips, we love filter strips. So again, just the way that I think about things is really we just want to be efficient with what we have. I know I keep saying that, but we want to keep those resources in the right spot. So again, I like to put this little slide up here just for clarification, because we get a lot of calls about somebody wanting to be in CSP or EQIP, and I just want to make sure people, and I'm happy to help explain, but just so you know what's what. EQIP is more of those one-time kind of capital infrastructure projects like high tunnels. And bigger farms will put in agrochemical handling facilities, and CSP is practice based. So think about adding cover crops or adding a forest management plan or no-till. So we use the word enhancement a lot. We're enhancing the practices that you're already employing. So yeah, we talked about this a little bit. So an EQIP will prescribe a cover crop, CSP will add, and with grazing, and EQIP will put in the infrastructure, the fencing, the walkways, and then with CSP, the enhancement is the plan. So we'll make a grazing plan for you. There's not going to be a quiz, but I'm hoping that this is stuff that you can take with you to, if you have property or if someone you know is interested, you can point them in our direction. So one thing I want to point out is that sometimes USDA and NRCS can be a little daunting with paperwork, but my goal is to make that as easy as possible for you. So you can either contact the Conservation District, which I am part of, and then I'll come develop a conservation plan, which is just taking an inventory of what you've got going on, and we'll decide, we want to put a filter strip here, we want to put pollinator habitat here, and we want to put cover crops here. And then I'll kind of flesh that out a little bit more in the office, and you'll fill out an application, you'll review your plan together with me, and then there's a few other paperwork steps, but that's minor and something I'd be happy to work with you on. And then if selection is not guaranteed, but we're happy to develop plans either way, whether you get selected for funding or not. And that really just depends on the year and the amount of money available. But our area, we do get a fair amount of money because there's so much interest in these programs. And I wanted to also mention we also have the MEAEP program, Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program, and this program I ran for 5 years in the southwest part of the state, but we've got it here too, and it's really unique. If it's voluntary, which I think is the most important part of this, is that we're not forcing anyone to do anything. We're totally we're saying if you want to make sure that the practices you're using are in compliance with the state of Michigan and also best practices in terms of what we call GAMPs, General Agriculture Management Practices. we are here to help with that. So it's basically you learn a little bit about the program, meet myself or Nick will come out to your property and talk about it, do some technical assistance, take a look around. And then once we feel like we're all good to go, we'll get you verified with a verifier. So go through these little assessment booklets. Maybe some of you have seen these. There's a few different categories in MAEAP. There's the farmstead, the cropping, livestock, and the wetland habitat. And just if you ever get your hands on these books, or if you want one, let me know. And these are really great resources, whether you want to go through with the program or not. That they're just a great way to kind of take stock of what you've got going on your land, property, farm, and see, you know, yes, a lot of these are laws, but the program is confidential, so we're not going to tell anyone if we see something that maybe doesn't fall in compliance. Our job is to work with you on improving, and once we get there, we'll get you that recognition that you deserve. So then you, like I mentioned, you get a verification, some recognition by the state, a few other benefits, and I think that's an amazing program. Nick, it's in good hands here with Nick, and I kind of help out when needed. So it's different than organic, and we'd be happy to talk about that, but it complements organic very well. So whether it be Farm Bill programs or MAEAP, I am here to help you out in all your conservation efforts. So yeah, name is Erez, conservation technician, Washtenaw County Conservation District, but I also work with NRCS USDA. So if you have questions about any of those things, you can email me, erez@washtenaw.cd.org, or you can, really the cell phone is the best way to get me, because I'm in this office, that office, the field, home office. So that's the best way to get me. So I appreciate having the time to be here today, and any questions, feel free to email me, share, type a message, or I'd be happy to answer. So that's all I got for you.
We had one question in the chat from Charity. It was,
what do we got?
Do you have to be a producer to take advantage of your programs?
That's a great question. So you do not need to be a producer. Can I follow up with Charity? You can answer in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. It depends what program you're interested in. So is there something specific or an example that you were thinking of?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button here for a minute. Actually, specifically, this would not be in Washtenaw County. It's a condo development wanting to have some help with pollinator habitat, that or increase population of native plants,
Sure.
which doesn't really fall.
That's a great question. So the answer is that you don't need to be a producer necessarily, but in this case, that would not quite fit the bill, because we're working with landowners. So in order to be eligible, you need to have what's called a farm and tract number. That doesn't necessarily mean you need to be a farmer. It just means that you have to be registered with the Farm Service Agency, which is part of the USDA. So it is a little bit tricky on that front, because there's not, you do need to be registered with them, and it's a little bit easier if you're a business. It's a little tricky with entities like that, but we're happy to try to work with anyone. But you do need to have a farm and tract number, which again is not an indication of you being a farm. It's just an indication of having your information be in the system. So it's hard to say yes or no for sure. I don't like to dismiss things. I like to, try to give best chances I can. So they'd be, we happy to look at that with an email or a phone call, and maybe we can see if we can make some progress. Have you guys done much with CSP in this part of Michigan? So the answer is historically no. But that is why I am here, to change that. So just a little bit of context. So CSP is kind of a hidden gem with NRCS. There's not a lot of interest in it. Historically, it just had to be, and that's because we have so many great programs like EQIP with high tunnels. That's very popular. But CSP, we're basically paying you to do what you want to do anyway. So if you want to have pollinator habitat or forest management plan, or if you're already grazing cattle, we're going to say, we'll give you $1,500 to keep doing a good job. And that's just a minimum. So if you're grazing 10 cows on 10 acres, we have a little formula that will make that payment likely at least twice or 3 or 4 times. And that's a 5-year program. So over 5 years, you're getting quite a bit of money to do that program. And CSP is Conservation Stewardship Program. So really, we're just recognizing stewards of conservation and trying to give you the motivation and recognition that you really deserve. So that's about it. Plastic disposal with high tunnel. That's a great one. I'm gonna send me an email about that, and I can get with Tyler on that, because it's a similar thing with I work with some big producers that have round bales that are wrapped in. It's a big question, but we're working with some recycling groups to figure that out. And a weather station is a little bit outside of our, I got a message about a weather station cost share. That's a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. We're dealing mostly with conservation planning, but happy to look into that for you. So yeah, again, feel free to email me or call or whatever you want to do. I'm happy to help. So thanks again.
Thanks, Erez. That was great. I really enjoyed your presentation. It's cool that you can develop conservation plans for people even if they don't get funding for the projects.
And one thing I'll mention is that if you don't get funding selected, you don't even need to do anything. I will resubmit your application, and the next year you already get some leverage. So it's not a lost cause.
That's great. I had a question about your EQIP and CSA. It seems like EQIP is great for people that are just getting started with trying to improve their conservation practices. Do you ever help people transition from an EQIP program into a CSP afterwards?
So
improvement.
It's it's not necessarily one or the other, or you don't always need to have gone through the EQIP program to be eligible for CSP. I'm working with quite a few producers who, they wanted to do some EQIP programs, and it just made sense that we made those plans for them, and they also wanted CSP, and we were able to just knock it all out. And it's 2 separate applications, but one big beautiful conservation plan, and we're putting in the high tunnel, and outside that, they're on the property, they're doing their pollinator habitats, getting that payment every year for 5 years. So no, the answer is you can do both, and you can do one without the other. It's it's more likely that you will be interested or have heard of CSP if you've already gone through EQIP, but that doesn't mean that you have to have done that. We're happy to work with anyone.
Great. Well, thanks again, Erez. That was a great presentation.